Hi lovelies, it's Keisha Charles and welcome to the PaperMint Studio Tour. It's been 9 years since I've shared a tour of this space and a lot has changed and a lot of things have still stayed the same, and I'm okay with both of those things. I'm so pleased that you're able to join me to have a little overview of this room. Frankly, part of the reason why it took me so long to film a tour is that there's a lot to see. And today we're going to do an overview of the room. I won't be opening every drawer and all the cupboards and all of that. We will actually have other videos that focus on specific sections of the room or specific types of storage. Today we're going to walk around the room, see how everything is just kind of laid out, and talk you through some of the decisions I made as I created the space originally and the things I've changed since 9 years ago. For years, I crafted happily in a small spare bedroom until it was literally bursting at the seams with all of my crafty goodies, and my husband was completely fed up with me because I had all kinds of other craft items popping out of closets around the house. Thankfully, we were ready by that time to finish our basement, and I was able to make a dedicated space just for crafting. I can't tell you how thankful I am to be able to do that, but it is one of the things that has brought me a ton of joy. I had a lot of help in making this room from my dear friend Narissa, who's an architect, from the cabinetry makers Artisan Custom Closets, and from Stamp & Storage. But first today, we're going to start with my craft carts. Actually, as you can see here, 4 different types of carts line the wall just as you enter the craft room. First is for my Copic markers, and if you're storing your Copic markers vertically, this is a great solution. I just have a little insert here that's placed in a Rascal cart. You have to be careful though, because storing them vertically can bring all the ink to one end of the marker and can cause it to flood, so bear that in mind. Next up is my favorite cart, my blending cart. I love the little carousel that contains a rainbow of brushes that I've just collected over the years. And then beneath that are my Ranger Mini blending tools. At this first level, you've got the ones for the distress inks, and then below that are the ones dedicated for distress oxides. It took me forever to save up and be able to collect all of the tools that I needed to have one for each color, but I'm super happy that I did because I use my distress inks a lot. Hanging off the side, I've got samples of different inks and paper, and at the back, I've got tucked away some markers. A couple years ago, I realized that I wouldn't have space to store all the inks that I adore. So I decided to start collecting my inks in the mini sizes if available, and this little cart from Michaels stores the ones that I have. There'll be a feature just on ink pads and ink storage in an upcoming video, but that's just a peek for now. This craft cart, which I have updated since you see this little stock photo to what you see here, contains my latest die cutting friend, the Big Shot Switch from Sizzix, and below that, since I'm falling in love with foiling and laminating, are my Spellbinders foiling system, as well as my little mini mink. Underneath that, I have lots of things for die cutting and foiling stored in the various drawers of this cart, ready and to hand. I remember when I first saw the drawing of what the paper and ink bookcase would look like and how it would work, and I was totally thrilled at how functional but pretty it was going to be, with showing like a full rainbow of paper. Up top is the 8.5 by 11, then there's a middle section with ink, and then at the bottom 12 by 12. It looks over the island. That is where I spend most of my crafting time in the room, but it governs a lot of what I do in terms of I adore inks and paper, and that's what I spend a lot of my time with. The 8.5 by 11 paper holders are stacked along the top. These ones were a little customized to fit this particular cabinetry. So they have 13 little inserts in them in each one, as opposed to the ones that you'll see on the Stampin' Storage website. Beneath those are the combo holders, which hold my Distress Oxides, inks, refills, all kinds of goodies here in this middle section. On the far right are the oxides, and over here on the left are the combo holders that hold the Distress inks, refills, and markers. These markers are a bit older. We don't have Tim Holtz markers for every color now, but I've inserted some water brushes that I fill with some of the refill ink, so I can make my own little markers or brushes as I see fit. Below that are the 12 by 12 paper holders, and that's what you'll see now coming up on screen. And on top of all of the paper, you'll see these little tabs. I have these clear sleeves from Stampin' Storage that I use to hold scraps of paper so that I can, collect them easily. And those inserts are all labeled so I can see what the paper color names are, because I'll often need that so I can tell you guys when I'm making cards. On the left are the drawers that hold, right now they hold ink. And my latest happy thing is that I found these inserts that I can use to hold all of my ink vertically in a great position and have little labels on top. Heading back to the island, let's do a little bit of walkthrough. Starting at the bottom, we have the ribbon holder. I'm super proud of this because I came up with this idea all by myself. It happens once every 100 years. I have a good idea. But of stacking the ribbon holders from Stampin' Storage to make a little bit of a ribbon bookshelf where I could create yet another rainbow. Of course, I couldn't resist. Moving along the island, there are a couple other opportunities for open storage. The first of which you see here, where I am quite thrilled with the fact that I'm able to tuck away a bunch of paper from Simon Says Stamp. This is their cardstock line, and I can hold it in these magazine holders and have it all a bit close to hand. It's inexpensive to store in the magazine holders and compact. Love that about it. Below it I have some stamping tools. Then moving along to near where I sit, on the left and right of me, you're seeing here the various drawers that are within arm's reach when I'm crafting. So I like to store some of my favorite things there. Underneath the part of the island that I call the hub, which is where I sit, there are also lots of tools that help me on a day-to-day basis. So I used to have a drawer here that I butted up against my tummy when I was sitting, but now I've replaced it with open shelving where I hold my most important tools. My cutting tools, scoring, cleaning wipes, stamping tools like the Misty, and above that I have different surfaces like my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, and then at the other end my foam tape. Above the desk on the desktop is always my glass mat. And I love this. I've always had a glass mat for as long as I've been crafting. I'm pretty messy and glass mats are super forgiving and easy to clean up. I tend to get a little distracted if I have too many things on the desktop, but I must have my blending tools, so they're there. Then there are my glasses on the little Positively Everything tool. Love that for holding a cup of coffee, for helping me open a jar, for keeping my wet wipes, so many uses. My little pin cushion, I need that to punch out all my things, and a magnet to hold my loose dies. Now, I took out all the things that were in the drawer in where I was seated, and I put them back into this carousel, which is what I first started using when I was crafting, and it holds all, you know, so many little tools that are near and dear to me as I'm doing many crafty things. Off of the desktop are another set of drawers which I use constantly. So first up, my stamping stuff, then a drawer with all my adhesives, then pre-cut paper for different size cards, and lastly punches and ribbon, which I don't use often. On the bottom, I have swatch folders, as you see there, and then above it, another rainbow of cardstock, actually 2 rainbows deep of cardstock. Those ones are from Spellbinders and Concord and Ninth. I'll be taking you in a future video inside all of these drawers so you can see, but from time to time throughout today's overview, I will flash just little pictures of what's inside of each of the drawers. This is my new and favorite swirly and shiny crafting chair. Love it. And I have one more craft cart to show you. This is my Simon Says Stamp crafting cart. I need it close at hand because I'm often making cards for Simon Says Stamp, so it actually spends most of its time right behind me near the island where I sit. Along the top, I have the current release for that month. Next to it in the middle are dies with sentiment dies, and then along the right are stamps and other items from previous releases that I haven't used yet, but I would like to, so I keep them, you know, close at hand and within sight. Below that to the right are stencils. In the middle, more stamps and dies, and along the very bottom, the larger stamps, embossing folders, and sentiment strips. So there is my Simon Says Stamp crafting card. I love these button jars. I feel so nostalgic when I look at them. They're one of the things that I can't give up in the craft room. I originally used to keep my Copic markers here, and ideally if I had a lot of space or if I didn't need them to be mobile, which I do, trust me, I am too lazy to just walk over here and take them out of the tray and then walk back to the desk. It's really quite sad. So now I keep a bunch of different other markers. Some are alcohol markers, some are water-based markers, just in these crafting trays, just organized according to my own little rainbow and at hand as I need them. I love these little ceramics. I got them from another big box store. I think it was Hobby Lobby a couple years ago, and they're more pretty than, you know, particularly functional for anything in the craft room, but sometimes it's just nice to have something that makes you smile. Above the markers, there's a bit more in the color corner. So on top, I have a number of different types of colored pencils and some other water-based markers that I've collected over the years, and we'll look behind those drawers in a subsequent video. But here you can clearly see I have a little bookcase that's stuffed with a variety of things from planners, mainly crafting planners, swatch books, crafting books, just to help keep me a little bit more organized and inspired in the craft room. Below the desktop, I have an area I'll show you inside this particular cupboard where you see I have some of my cutters, glue machines, and die cutting machines at the very bottom. And then to the left, I have different types of ink and paint that I don't have storage for in the open shelving. So love this little area. I've repurposed it from what I originally used to have it for, but it's pretty functional for me right now. Now this space there's a lot to take in. This computer desk and hutch mirrors a setup I had in my original craft room, but just, you know, kicks it up a notch with tons of storage at the very bottom for paper flowers that I used to use a lot in scrapbooking and when I made mini albums. And then above that, I've just got paints and inks and sprays, particularly on this right bookshelf. A lot of different paints, inks, sprays from Ranger here, as well as some other companies. And of course, some storage at top with some of my other paint tools and things that I need from time to time. On the desktop, that's where I have my trusty rusty iMac. She's a little bit old, but she's still kicking. Maybe I'll be able to replace her soon. Above her, I keep a lot of different types of other paints, as well as small embellishments. But just taking a peek at my iMac and the colorful keyboard and speakers. I also have my favorite page-a-day desk calendar here, which I use to inspire color choices in my cards when I'm stumped, which is really often. Now we come to like the main area of the Hutch. This is like the traditional like mixed media section for me, where I've organized kind of mixed media supplies by the designer. So this particular section is stuff from Dina Wakley, and then I have a number of others in little shelves. I keep some of my small embellishments here. So you see the sequins from Sizzix, and then I have oodles of brads that I bought at Joann's over the years. Above that, gelatos, some more paints and foiling. And I just adore this rainbow of paints from Martha Stewart with my Craftroom motto, "This is my happy place." It really is. And believe it or not, these paints, after so many years, are still in excellent shape. I'm super surprised because it's going to take me forever to get through all of them. On the very top in these large kind of candy jars are clothespins which I've wrapped with different trims and ribbons that I've collected over the years. And I just, it's pretty to look at, but functional in keeping those supplies in order. I bought these little jars at IKEA, and they hold a lot of little embellishments that I used to use fairly often in taking photos, and I still go back to from time to time. On the right side, you have more flowers. Oh, look at that rainbow, that's super pretty. I used more often when I was scrapbooking, and I keep promising myself I will be able to get to do more with that, but I'm hanging on to them. I love flowers, whether they're in real life or paper ones. The bottom shelf, I have 6x6 and other paper pads, as well as some small ribbon. But let's get into the top left kind of bookshelf, where it's just oodles of glitter and other shiny things. Now, I've had a bit of a glitter problem a while ago. I don't think I've bought any glitter in years, but I think I have more than a lifetime supply of glitter and glitter glues. I don't think I'll be purchasing any more. And I'll probably give away some of what I have. But that takes us to the far right bookshelf, where I have more crafting books. These ones are mainly focused on sewing. When I had the fantasy that I was going to do more with sewing, I also have some embroidery and other kind of fabric tools. And then I have my mixed media crafting books here, as well as some other books on actually making books and journaling. So love that. On the far right, I wanted to save some space just to kind of remind me of some cards that I made that I fell in love with and that inspire me and keep me going when I'm feeling stuck and kind of not really sure where to go with my crafting. These remind me that I can make something pretty and to just keep trying. My little sewing box is below some of these other sewing items, just tucked away here in the corner. To the left of that, hiding under a dust cover, is my sewing machine, which I'm going to learn how to use one of these days. I might need a lot of encouragement from you guys, but I'm going to get there. On the floor, that's actually blocking the door where I hold my printer. I have some flowers, and we'll take a peek of that in a second. But these flowers, I use them fairly often when I'm taking photos, and I take my photos right beneath the window here, using natural light as often as I can. So this little desktop here is where I take photos, and on occasion I get to watercolor. This crafting cart, yes, another one, is tucked beneath the desktop, and I have my old We Are Memory Keepers little bloom thing that holds a lot of little embellishments that I can use when taking photos. And here is just how I'm set up at that same window when I am attempting to watercolor something. This window actually looks out at a retaining wall, but I'll take it, any little bit of sunlight that I can, and just my light mail with some ceramics and a little bit of watercoloring I did at a class from a local craft store here in Georgia. Love that little peek outside. I wish it looked like that all the time. We're gonna take a little break from the window desktop for a minute because I want to flip back to the other side of the island and show you a little bit about what I've got going on in this section. Actually, before we get back to the island, I just want to quickly show you one more thing here. It's just a little decor piece that I made with an embroidery hoop for all of my Tim Holtz distress pins. I don't know what I'm gonna do if he releases more colors, since I think I'm running out of space, but it brings me a lot of joy to have that rainbow on the side of the cupboard. And now back to the island. I mentioned earlier that I repurposed this section of the island, which used to be just for ribbon storage before, and now I store embossing powders on the top 2 rows and some of the ribbons that I've decided to keep in the craft room on the rest of the rows that used to be exclusively for ribbons. So I flip all of the embossing powders upside down. I've been too lazy to label the caps, so I can easily see the colors of the different powders this way. So it looks a little crazy, but I like it. And then of course at the bottom, more of my ribbons. These ones are from my Stampin' Up days. I love that this craft room can grow and change with my interests, and I can repurpose the same space for new items. Now let's get on to the rest of the island. I have these deep and wide drawers that contain a lot of things. Here's a shot of the first one, which holds the adhesives. I used to have 2 drawers for adhesives. I've consolidated them into one on this side because it was way too much. And here you'll see all labeled what all of the other drawers contain. You'll have to let me know how much detail you want me to go into in upcoming videos where we'll actually dive into the drawers. If you just want a peek and just open them up, or if you want me to kind of go through the drawer in a little bit more detail. Now here's a drawer that I'll give you another peek into. These are my Alex drawers, or just one Alex drawer, where I hold all of my Tim Holtz kind of miscellaneous smaller supplies, embellishments, paper, tools, just all of that yummy Tim Holtz goodness. I like to keep it all together. It makes it easier when I'm working on a project for Tim. On the right side of the island, again, more drawers that hold different tools. At the bottom, my Tim Holtz Big Dies. Above that, sequins and beads. Let's take a peek at that. This is fun to look at, and I've collected quite a few. And then another little peek into the drawer where I have different wood embellishments that I've collected over, gosh, there's like 15 years of stuff in here. And above that, resin and acrylic things, and then ribbon and trim. I can't wait to give you a peek into that particular drawer. I had fun organizing it. And that is the other side of the island. Going back to the desktop now, we can continue to move along, and first I want to show you the punch storage. I haven't made any changes here. I have these drawers, these little slim vertical drawers that pull out, and that photo just showed you how the punches are stored inside. At the bottom, I've got other type of oddly sized punches which wouldn't fit in the storage above. And then in the glass drawers, nice little peek at felt, and above the felt is the second drawer here with some of my fabric items. So they're pretty to look at, and time to time I go over there and use them as props and for different things. On the open shelving are pens and inks, because somebody has fallen completely into journaling and the idea, repeat the idea, that I'm going to get a bit better at calligraphy one of these days. So I've got calligraphy stuff, gel pens, paint pens, more paint pens. Everywhere I go, I can't seem to resist collecting paint pens. And at the very top, some fabrics and some yarn that I had a really good idea for that hasn't worked out just yet, but makes me happy to look at it. Even more storage in these tubs at the top. And I finally got to put up a clock I bought in one of my travels. On this side, I forgot to show you this wreath that I bought from a crafter on Etsy, and I just think it's adorable. Of course, it's a rainbow, so I thought it was adorable. Then this side of the window desk is now the journaling section, where clearly I didn't have enough pens in the open storage, so there are more pens on the desktop, and highlighters, and and many things. But let's take a peek at what we've got going on here. So below, another crafting cart. This one is focused on journaling items. So I have a number of notebooks and planners and planning supplies in there. And then above desktop, I have my little owl with different guides and rulers, and then another larger lattice container with more rulers. This is just a quick shot showing, you know, how it might look when I'm planning. I wish it looked that neat. It certainly doesn't. And I have some gifts here that I've received, which are pretty to look at, and quite functional too, thankfully. On top, I've got other stationery items, more pens, post-it notes, clips, things of that nature. These white holders are repurposed from my scrapbooks from Craftroom, and this gorgeous card is from my Insta friend, Bonnie. I begged her to send this to me, and she so graciously accommodated. It's such an inspiration to be able to look at this whenever I'm in the craft room. And another beautiful card is from my friend Kelly, the Sunshine Crafter, who sends me just delightful cards from time to time, and I'm super thankful. The little Frida figurine is, she's been with me for a couple years now, and Frida is another source of inspiration. I just see her as a fearless but flawed artist, and I can relate to some of that, so she's on the desktop. Speaking of flaws, here I have super thankful to have a sink to help me clean up some of the madness that happens in the craft room. Allowing what happens in the craft room to stay in the craft room instead of taking it to the kitchen sink. And above the sink, I have right on the top more of those cloth cubes that I can use to contain some of my lesser used supplies. Then I've got protective gear on top and some spray paints and other things. And at the bottom, I've got cleaning supplies beneath the sink. We've got a couple of other things to go through. There you got a peek at the little umbrella that I used to help me with lighting. I want to show you one more thing at the sink. I've got my green Positively Everything tool from Simon Says Stamp here to help me with cleaning out some stencils, giving them a good scrub when I've applied, you know, all of my pastes and goos to them. And before we finish the craft room though, I do have one more section that I would love to show you. And it's a place that I spent a lot of energy in trying to just kind of figure out how to organize, and I change things in here from time to time. But let me take you through what I've lately gotten up to. So this bookcase wall holds my stamps, dies, stencils, and some embossing folders. And that's where we'll actually start with the embossing folders. They are on the top right where you see that little rainbow of hearts. I made those little inserts to divide my embossing folders into themes and organize them. I use a lot, I stopped using embossing folders for a while, and then they became popular again, and I'm so glad because I love all the texture and dimension that embossing folders give you, so I'm hanging on to mine for now. Then these two shelves below hold my Tim Holtz items. As you can see, I have a couple of things to put away there, but those are my dies and Tim Holtz embossing folders. And then in these tubs, which I got from Simon Says Stamp, they're perfect for holding my Tim Holtz stamps and all of my other stamps, in fact. At the bottom here, this is 3 of 6 of these acrylic trays that I filled with my dies on magnet cards. And above that, I've got my stamps with coordinating dies where applicable, organized mainly by company. So at the very top, that on the far right there, you saw my Simon Says Stamp background stamps. Those are the only stamps that I don't keep in the crafting cart. And then I've got my storage bags here from Simon Says Stamp that hold my large dies. These are my alphabet stamps and dies in yet another acrylic container. And then below that, in the medium-sized container, I've got some medium-sized stamps organized by company, and larger containers with the larger 6x8 size stamp sets for the most part. And as you can see, I've decided to put some of the colorful and pretty packaging right to the front to just kind of designate what's in that particular container. And I thought I wouldn't like it at first, but I actually like seeing all the stamps, and it makes me curious and reminds me that I want to try a particular stamp. So at the top, the small ones, in the middle, the middle-sized ones, and towards the bottom, the larger stamps and dies. Beneath the open shelves, I've made some changes. So I put in these more shallow drawers to replace some deeper file drawers, the ones that you see here at the bottom that hold my scrapbooking things. I still love to scrapbook and would like to scrapbook more, but I am very much into card making now. So now I've got 8 new drawers on top that hold various things related mainly to card making. So you can see at the very bottom here, it's not scrapbooking items. I have different surfaces. It's filled with all the different types of paper I have for different types of crafting. But the 3 on the right, this is where I store my scrapbooking supplies by collection. And yes, I've got a drawer just for Paige Taylor Evans because I adore all of her paper and delicious scrapbooking items. She's such an inspiration. I can't thank you enough for sticking with me. You've been with me for almost half an hour. I can't imagine how long this tour would be if I opened all of these drawers, but we'll definitely get to that soon. I'm going to link a lot of the supplies that I can in the description, and feel free to ask me questions and leave me comments about what you'd like to see next. I think I might take a closer look at paper and ink storage, but we'll see what is best. Visit me on Instagram at the PaperMint. Check out my website, thepapermint.com. And I am Keisha Charles, and this is my happy crafting place. Thank you for joining me, lovelies.